Hi, Russ here. Hey, welcome to another session of OTB Thinker, outside the box thinker. We're going to talk about managing plywood. You want to cut it up. And over the years, I've tried just about every method you could think of at one time or another. Probably one of my least favorites is trying to push it full sheet, a 3/4 inch MDF through my table saw. That, if there ever was an oxymoron, that would be it. So, in order to cut plywood, the advent of the track saw has really sold me on the idea that the way to cut it is to hold your plywood still and cut it with the saw moving. And so, a track saw works very well for me, but that's only half the battle. If you have a 1/4 inch piece or 1/8 inch piece of plywood, it's like trying to cut a piece of pasta sometimes, and that can be a challenge. Also, you have to consider the substrate. What's underneath your plywood when you go to cut it? You're going to tear something up. You're going to bind up your blade. And so these are all things that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I've finally come up with the solution. And I call it Styrofoam 2x4's. What is that? Quite simply, it's a 1.5 inch piece of styrofoam with a piece of 1/4 inch hardboard glued on the back side. They're actually very durable. I haven't broken one yet, and I've cut through them and everything else, and they're still just as good as the day I made them. And they're nice and light, and at a length of 4 foot and around 20 inches. I have 4 like this, and I have 6 like this. They stay up on my lumber rack when I'm not using them, and they're really nice and easy to get out quick. I can grab a handful of them in one hand and bring them down. So they're actually very good way to have a 2x4 like this. So now you say, well, what the hell are you going to do with that? Well, let me show you. We want to cut this sheet of plywood. It's sitting directly on my tabletop. No, that ain't gonna work. So I just take these, always plywood down, styrofoam up. I just lift up one end of the board, and I set that under there. I take a second one. Again, they're easy to hold with one hand. And now I lift it up, and I put this in there, and now my piece is 1.5 inches off of my tabletop. But it's not quite ready. If this is a piece of 1/4 inch, this thing would be like trying to cut a piece of pasta again with a circular saw. So, however many I need, I go through here, and let's say this is going to be my cut. I take 2 more, and now I can just slide them in underneath, one on each side of where my cut's going to be. And now, this piece actually is stable, but this is a very thick piece. If I had a piece of 1/4 inch, it would still be bouncing around a lot. No problem. However many you need to put in, you just keep putting them in. So now, and I can take these and I can put these underneath there if I need to, anywhere I want, in any condition. This is my cut. They're nice and stable as I push them through. And I get a nice clean cut with everything holding still. So these are great for doing that. The other thing is that you want to use your jigsaw instead of your circular saw. Well, 1.5 inches is kind of a scary size. I think you need to go a little bigger. So all I do is I take and I stack them up, and I can still hold this with one hand. I can take and put this underneath there as a pair, one on top of the other, manage them, get them in alignment. And now I have my piece 3 inches off the table instead by doubling up. And then I can cut my piece using a jigsaw instead of the circular saw. So the 2x4 made of styrofoam is actually very durable, very light, easy to use and manage. They're easy to move around underneath your piece if you need to. And they give you the stability you want. And if you cut through it, like this one I've cut through it, it doesn't affect it at all. Still flat, works well, slides under, and everything works. So give it a try. make some styrofoam 2x4's. And I think maybe I may find some other uses for these before I'm done. I've been thinking about it. And I'm thinking that maybe this wouldn't make too bad of a work surface. You turn it this way if you want to cut something with your razor knife. You turn it over this way if you want to glue up. Or need a flat surface to lay something on when you put pieces together to join. This would make a nice, straight, flat surface that you can move around. And it's easy to use. And easy to clamp to your table. And you can still pound on it to a certain extent. And it's not going to hurt it. So I'm looking for other uses for it. But I think the styrofoam 2x4, that's the ticket. It's a great addition to any small shop to help you do small jobs, like cutting full sheets of plywood. Hey, thanks for coming by and joining me on my OTB session here. If you have any questions or any comments, leave them below. If you haven't, subscribe. I would appreciate it. And like always, I'll be back. So you stay tuned. And we'll be back.